What's happening, guys? I'm here to tell you about a great new premium offering we have from our bets guy, Keg. He has been crushing it so much with his live betting streams that we decided to spin off his Keg Cats into a premium feature.
The first 5 shows, we were profitable all 5 shows. The show was up like 15 units about, and, you know, I crush.
Subscribe today for just $10 a week and gain access to all of Keg's live betting streams covering tons of sports, including the NFL playoffs, MMA betting every week, PGA, March Madness, the NBA, and NASCAR. Last season, Keg and the crew crushed in NASCAR with cashes in over 30 races for well over 130 units of live profit.
Put it on the boy for your boy Keg to get Blaney home at 14-1. Put it on the board for your guy Keg to get that Larson top 5 plus 105 home. Let's go!
Learn how to live bet and tail Keg and his crew with this amazing subscription offering. Also included is access into an exclusive Discord channel reserved for Keg's subscribers. Last reminder that it's only $10 a week, so get on board today with Keg and keep running here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Pier Sports MMA show. Back for UFC 270. I'm, of course, Draftcheat, joined today by Titletown and Keg. We are talking a big event. Two title fights tonight. Of course, headlined by Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou. Should be a good one. We've got NFL football. Just a great Saturday of sports title. How you doing, man? I assume you're excited for your Packers, excited for this UFC event. And excited to hit the couch, make some money, watch some sports. It's going to be a good day. Title, what's going on, man?
Oh, it's going to be a good day, all right. My alarm was set bright and early, 8 a.m. this morning, which is not something I do. I had to get that workout in first, feel good for the day, because after this show, I mean, starting now, it's grind time the rest of the day. Football, like you said, 2 games, huge slates, big prize pools, UFC, of course. There's a lot of money to be made, a lot of cheese to be made today. So I got my workout out. I'm feeling good, not tired over here. People are asking if Keg slept yet. Of course, the Packers. I'm very, very excited. We're going to talk winners. I know Keg's going to be live, this Keg live show almost all day. So he's going to be ready for some winners too. Great day. And all I got to say, of course, go Pack, go. Number 12. Big time. I'm excited.
Yeah, I love the Packers tonight. Really excited for this day of football. Keg, been working hard. Obviously, you've got the premium package here at Run Pier Sports. Talk a little bit about that, Keg, and break it all down. Your Saturday, how you doing, man?
Yeah, what's going on, boys? I also woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning and worked out today, like Title.
I like it.
I'd like that to be known for the record. Yeah, we got the live show package going, $10 a week. We had 6 shows so far. 5, the first 5 were profitable, broke even on the 6th. We're doing well. And as far as the bets side, use promo code BETS25 off. It'll get you 25% off the first month over at Run Pure Bets. Things are going well, man. I'm excited for today. Can't wait for the football. Can't wait for the last 2 fights on this pay-per-view. Really looking forward to making money today.
Yeah, it should be a good day. Title, the pro move, the king move on the workout on days like this where you got island NFL games, you got to hop on the Peloton. You set your TV up and you just spin your legs while the game's going on. Because when there's one NFL playoff game, like for me, I'm just sitting on the couch and I'm like bored during the commercial. So you can pick it up during that time. You can kill a couple hours, right? The problem with the Peloton or the exercise bike, it's so boring. But when you got an NFL game to watch, you can pass that hour or 2 real easy. So that'll be me this afternoon, getting my workout in.
I did see your tweet about that. I was like, that is one of the sharpest things. So yeah, I'm in an apartment complex, like the workout room is a little down the road. I have a gym, so like I don't have the luxury to do that in my house and be comfortable. Yeah. But that's a complete nuts. Like when you said it, it makes total sense that you're actually doing something. I know like some people under their desk. I know my mom has like a pedal bike thing, or like just so you're doing something while you're sitting down. So makes a lot of sense. But yeah, like today I ran on the treadmill a couple miles. Like it's so boring for sure. You got to turn something on, but I think you got to figure it out with the Peloton and watching some football.
I do much prefer to work out outside, but you gotta get the wheel spinning once in a while, and these NFL playoff games are perfect for it. So enough talk about working out. You guys don't give a shit about that. Let's get into this card. We have lost a few fights due to various reasons, weight cut, medical reason. Actually, I don't know if any of these are due to COVID, but regardless, we are left with an 11 fight card. Of course, the 2 title fights up top. We'll talk about each and every fight. Keg will go over kind of his best bets, any angles he's seeing from the betting side of it. Title will talk DFS. We'll talk mostly DraftKings. Title, I'm sure he'll throw in some FanDuel thoughts from time to time. And Donkey DC over here, I'll try to stay out of these guys' experts' way and introduce the fights and try not to give too many bad opinions over here. So we'll talk it all out for an hour and hopefully get you guys prepared for what should be a fun UFC 270. All right, let's get into it. We'll start off with a women's fight. Kay Hansen versus Jasmine. I'm going to butcher this name. Jasudavicius. There's no way that's right, but you guys can correct me there. Regardless, Kay Hansen, who I do feel pretty good about the pronunciation of her name, minus 230 to minus 240 favorite here. I don't know, 2 somewhat unremarkable fighters for me. These fights, Title, aren't ones that I typically invest too heavily in DFS or betting, frankly, Keg. But maybe you guys have a different opinion. So, Title, break it down for us between these 2, Hansen and you can pronounce the other fighter for me, and then I'll know. I'll remember when she fights again in 6 months. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just like saying Jasmine. I think that's the
easiest.
There we
go. Jasmine, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, Jasudavicius or something, I think it's a pronunciation. But we're going to call her Jasmine. That works. She's making her UFC debut. It's a really interesting fight. So she's making her UFC debut from Contender Series. One of the many fighters we're going to talk about from Contender Series that's making their UFC debut. But she's 32. Her opponent, Kay Hansen, is 22. Yet the 22-year-old has had some UFC experience, whereas the 32-year-old is making her debut. It's pretty interesting. Jasmine has gotten to MMA pretty recently in the past, I think it's like 4 or 5 years. Kay Hansen's been fighting longer than the 32-year-old has, which is interesting. Both girls have a wrestling background. But Jasmine she just seems lost out there sometimes. She gives up position. You can tell she's new. You can tell she's green. When she fights bombs, like on the Contender Series, and she gets a trip takedown and gets on top, yeah, she has a lot of success. But Kay Hansen's big for the division. I think she's going to have more of the success. She has good takedown defense herself. So I'd be surprised to see Jasmine get easy takedowns, control her on top, and have success there. I think the likely outcome is Kay Hansen gets the better of the striking exchanges. Jasmine is very hittable on the feet. She has good forward pressure. She's big. She's long for the division. But Kay Hansen's a better striker. She's made striking improvements. On the ground, I think Kay Hansen can have some success with her own takedowns. She is heavy on top. We've seen Jasmine slow down as fights go on with all of her forward pressure. So it hasn't been a ton of tape on Jasmine. It's pretty hard to find. Kay Hansen only 22. It's a low level fight. This pay-per-view we'll talk about a lot. Like it's so top heavy. It was supposed to be a pretty good card. We lost a lot of fights, like you said, short notice replacements, stuff like that. So I mean, the 2 main events, the co-main and main, are as good as it gets. But after that, it's kind of like a fight night card. So I don't have too much interest. I think Kay Hansen at 8,800 is going to get overlooked. She's plus 275 to finish. This fight is expected to end go to decision. Whereas a lot of the people in the upper tier, the fights are supposed to end inside the distance. So I think she gets overlooked. I think she could get like a 3rd round finish when Jasmine does slow down. I think she can get some takedowns, some top control. So I wouldn't be surprised to see her on the winner. I'll get some Kay Hansen since I think she'll be pretty overlooked in that range. As far as Jasmine, like if you're only making a couple lineups, I doubt I get to her. I don't really think she wins. In 150, I don't like too many dogs on this card. So like she'll be mixed in my player pool, but I lean Kay Hansen. It's not the best fight though.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. Nothing really to add from my side. Keg, do you see an angle here from the betting side with Hansen and Jasmine?
I think Title nailed a lot about this fight. I thought the girl looked okay in the first round, Jasmine, in her Contender Series fight, but that was it. She fell apart in the second round. Title said she's a grappler. She's got okay top control, but she really needs to work on her stand-up game. because she's really not competitive on this level, I don't think, in terms of her stand-up. In saying that, who the hell is Kay Hansen to be a -235 favorite against anybody?
Yeah.
I mean, she's a good wrestler. She's better on the feet, I think, than Jasmine. And I think she should win the fight, and probably soundly if I had to guess. But you would have to get really creative to back her because you aren't paying -235. Something like either you take your chance with Hansen inside the distance, maybe she gets a submission from top control, or you take the safe route and take her by decision at even money. That's basically where I'm at here.
Yeah,
I'll throw a sprinkle on round 3 too. Like if you're gonna take inside the distance, like round 1, I kind of would be surprised, like you said. Like Jasmine does come out hot, she has pressure and that stuff. So like 3rd round, if she's tired and stuff, I think you can take a sprinkle inside the distance there too. But I'm with Keg, like laying -235 on Kay Hansen. I wouldn't do that personally.
I'm with you guys. If I'm taking Hansen, I'm going to try to figure out inside the distance or not and going there with better odds. But mostly a stay away fight for me, both from a DFS perspective and a betting perspective for now at least. Let's move on to the second fight of the night. Also in the women's division, we've got Silvana Gomez Juarez versus Vanessa Demopolis. I believe both these fighters have one fight in the UFC, both coming off of losses. Pretty even fight in terms of the market. You do see Demopolis coming in right around -140 to -150, depending on where you look. Another fight that is expected to go to decision, not as convincing or not as high of odds as the previous fight, but it is expected to go to decision. Another fight where fairly low-level fight, honestly, in my opinion. I mean, 6-4 versus 10-3, and both coming off a loss, one fight each in the UFC. It's just not a fight that me personally is going to get super excited about. Title from a DFS perspective, both of these fighters relatively cheap, $8,300 for Demopolis, $7,900 for Gomez Juarez. Do you see anything here that I'm missing?
No, I mean, you said it all right. Like they both had one fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
They both didn't look great. Juarez came in. She shot a pretty good Lupita Godinez though. And I mean, she just got taken down, like finished in the first round. She didn't have much to offer. As far as, Vanessa Demopolis, like you could tell, didn't seem like she was UFC ready her first fight. We were supposed to get this fight last week, I believe. It got moved to this card. Like it's a low level woman's fight. But the thing is, it's a clash of styles, which makes sense why it's plus 130 inside the distance. Because when you get a low-level clash of styles fight, there's always a chance that just one woman completely dominates on where they're better at. Vanessa would be the grappling and the takedowns. Like if she can get a takedown, which her takedown entries are very poor, she struggles to get it to the mat. She struggles to hold her opponents on the mat. But her grappling is actually good. And, I mean, we just saw Gomez Juarez get submitted. So, like, if this fight gets to the mat, I think Vanessa is in a really good spot, and she could get the finish for sure at 8,300. Getting it to the mat, though, I'm not quite as confident. As far as Gomez Juarez, her hands look to be decent. On the feet, I think she clearly has a striking advantage, but, I mean, is she going to finish Vanessa? Like, if Vanessa falls down and gets to her back, like, I don't know if Gomez Juarez is going to, like, jumping guard and try and mess with her that way. So, like, I think more than likely it's a decision. The thing is, these girls are priced 8,300, 7,900. Brandon Moreno fight 8,500, Figgy 7,700. Cyril Gane 8,400, Francis 7,800. DraftKings pricing is algorithms based on the odds. It doesn't take into consideration the 5 rounds. So like it's in the same range as the 2 title fights. Of course, I'm going to take the title fights over this fight any day. Of course, I'll have some mid-tier builds in my 150, I 150, I 20, all this stuff. So some fights I'll have both of them. I'll throw one of these girls in there. But like, I'm not going to be overweight this fight. In reality, I'm probably going to be underweight this fight on both girls. I'll mix them in once in a while. I'll lean Vanessa if I have to pick, just because I think she has more upside since we know how much takedowns and top control do mean. So okay. I lean Vanessa, but I mean, it's another low-level fight. Pretty much got the 2 horse fights out of the way right away. So yeah, Vanessa's my pick. Not confident, low level.
Yeah, sounds like you kind of side with what the market says here, right? Slightly Vanessa, but nothing overconfident. Keg, rather. You have a different take on this one. Strong lean either way between Vanessa and Silvana.
Yeah, I mean, this is about as low level as women's MMA gets. I think it's pretty close to a coin flip who
Yeah.
wins the fight to me. I do think that it feels like Vanessa Demopolis' fight to lose, because I'll normally back a grappler in a striker grappler matchup with women. And I think that Demopolis will probably find success getting Gomez Juarez to the ground and controlling the fight that way, because we've seen Gomez Juarez struggle before. But I do think Demopolis is title's right. She's at a huge disadvantage on the feet for sure. Gomez Juarez is definitely the better striker, but I think Demopolis probably gets her down and controls the fight and gets the win. So I'm going to lean towards Demopolis. We're starting to see some buyback. This line was like minus 145 last night. Now it's Demopolis minus 135. So it's starting to fall. I would probably monitor that. I mean, maybe if it gets down to minus 120 by the time the fight goes off, maybe it's worth taking a shot on Demopolis, but it's a pass for me. But lean Demopolis for anybody looking for an angle.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was just going to ask Keg quick. So you think Vanessa will have success with her takedowns and getting it to the mat? Because if so, then like maybe I'll raise my underweight to GPP for Vanessa, because I think she'll style on her if the fight does get to the mat. I'm just worried, like, her takedown entries just seem brutal. It's so low level, but if you think she'll have success?
I think it seems like you're going to know really early in this fight. If
live betting
Juarez, if she stuffs the first couple takedowns, then I think Demopolis is in trouble. And it could be a long day. But I think if she could secure the takedowns, she's just going to grind her out for 15 minutes, you know?
Yeah, I probably didn't watch as much tape as you guys did, but from what I could see, I mean, this looked pretty clear cut in terms of Juarez looking like the better striker, Demopolis looking like the better grappler. So sometimes, you know, it sounds almost too easy, but sometimes I've had success on fights like this. Sometimes betting, you know, Juarez by TKO, KO, you can get that at plus 500. Demopolis to win by sub is plus 450, plus 500. Take one of those sides, you take that 4 or 5 to 1 shot. Not a bad way to do it when you can see such a clear advantages for either, you know, for both fighters in one particular area. So that might be a direction I would go, but like we said, not the most exciting fight in the world. We'll get those 2 women's fights out of the way early. Maybe focus on making your cocktail during these 2 fights, and then get back for the
watching some football. You got some Titletown, you got football on.
That is true. That is true. There's a good chance I won't actually watch these first 2 fights. We'll see. We all got multiple TVs, so we'll check them out. But we'll focus on football at this point still. Let's get to a men's fight next. Matt Frevola fighting, I believe, making his UFC debut. Gennaro Valdez. Frevola. He's won some fights in the UFC. I believe all his fights are wins by decision, and then he's been starched a couple times early on in the first round in a couple of his UFC fights as well. He does come in as a decent favorite here, though. Keg, we'll go to you first on this one. Frevola coming in right around minus 200. Again, kind of depends where you look, but right around there. Valdez obviously plus 170, plus 180 or so. Curious to hear your thoughts on this one, because obviously this is true for a number of fighters. You got to go to the regional MMA tape, right, to try to get a feel for how some of these guys fight. Valdez, one of those guys. So what did you come away with, Keg, with this fight, if anything, and any strong lead between Frevola and Valdez?
Yeah, I think Steamroller turned out to be an okay prospect, but not a great one.
Yeah,
and I think his problem is that he can't really handle any type of accurate power puncher.
Sure.
Because you could really rock that chin. We've seen it multiple times. But all in all, I think Matt Frevola is a pretty well-rounded guy. On the other side, Valdez, who he trains with Brandon Moreno, he looked really wild in his Contender Series fight, and his fight IQ looked like it left a lot to be desired. But he's strong, he's fast, he has power, and the fight seems slightly closer than the odds represent to me. Do I think that Matt Frevola can roll here? I guess he could. Do I think that he probably gets it done and gets the win? Yeah, I lean that he does get it done, but I don't think he should be minus 200. I do think that there's a little built-in value on Valdez here. So I'll lean with Valdez at plus 175. But that's about it here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Frivola's been fine. I haven't been overly impressed. You look at Valdez making his UFC debut, if you don't count the Contender Series. 10-0, I believe, with 10 stoppages is Valdez. Now he's 30 years old, and a lot of these fights are like, you know, if you're doing this, you know, breaking down fights, you kind of get used to some of the regional organizations. He's fighting in organizations that, you know, I've never heard of prior to. Didn't really know anything or never heard of that prior to researching this fight. So it's tough.
You know one thing that people have a problem with when they bet on MMA. A lot of times, I'll bet the opposite of who I think is going to win the fight because it always comes down to the value of the number.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like in this fight, you might do I think Matt Frevola wins this fight? Probably. But I do think that number's high. And if you always go by the number and you always stick to the value.
Yeah. It makes sense. I mean,
if you're playing the long game, you're going to come to 49ers today if they think the Packers are going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing with MMA betting that people sometimes have a hard time with.
Sure, yeah. Interested to get Title's opinion on this one. From a DFS perspective, the price points aren't bad for Vola, 8,700. I'll be honest, I get interested in Valdez as a dog at 7,500. Like Keg said, Title, Frevola has shown weakness against, good strikers. Like he's gone down when he's been hit hard. And I know Valdez hasn't been fighting the best competition, but listen, 10 stoppages and 10 fights that's all you can do, right? You finish the guy that they put in front of you. So Valdez looking at, plus 250-ish to finish inside the distance against a guy that we know can be finished inside the distance. And Valdez, we know he does finish fights, or he has at least so far. I don't mind that. And I don't mind taking Valdez as a dog here at 7,500. Title, your thoughts, Valdez, Frevola.
Yeah, you guys hit a lot of the key points. Like Matt Frevola, he's a good all-around fighter. The thing is, he just can't take a punch. I mean, he was on the wrong side of one of the best knockouts last year in Terrence McKinney, making his short notice debut, 1-2 down the pipe, 7 seconds in, and that's all she wrote for him. Like, no, I don't think Valdez is a Terrence McKinney. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Frevola is. He lost to Arman Sarukian too. Like, there's no shame in losing Arman Sarukian. He's a stud. So the level of competition is easily on Frevola's side. As far as Valdez, yeah, he's 10-0. Finished all 10 wins, 7 KOs, 3 submissions. But his Contender Series fight, he came in as a massive, massive favorite. I love the Contender Series. I watch him almost every week, which is important on a card like this. But, like, came in as a massive favorite. It was supposed to be easy work. First round, he just gassed himself. Like, he didn't pace himself at all. He went balls to the wall. He looked good, of course. I mean, he threw everything he had. The other dude he was fighting forgot his mouthpiece, forgot his jock strap on the way. Like, it was just some bum. I think from Alaska, I believe. Like, he should have walked through him. After the first round, though, it's like, man, this dude just spent everything he had. He was getting pieced up in the second round. Like, I thought the fight was going to be over. He somehow lands, like, a right hook or something, puts the other guy down and out. He got lucky to win that fight, though, is what I'm saying. Like, he should have lost that fight to someone that's really bad. Now he's getting Matt Frevola, Matt Frevola is a really good wrestler. If you want to wear on someone's gas tank and wear him out, I think Frevola, you get it tight, you make it a dirty fight from the get-go, grind it against the cage, make him work, get some takedowns, and then just draw his gas tank. So if I'm betting Valdez, and I agree, like I said, I don't like too many dogs on this card. Valdez is live at 7,500. My favorite approach for betting would be betting Valdez round 1, though, at plus 600 on FanDuel, just because I'm not confident after round 1 that his gas tank's going to be fine in rounds 2 and 3. And Frevola can put on a pace. He can wrestle and do all that. So I see like plus 450, I think, on DraftKings or something. Plus 600 on FanDuel.
I like that.
Is the best price I see in the industry. So definitely we'll have some in DFS, 7,500, first round KO. I mean, you're sitting in the optimal for sure. So got to have interest in the dog. But my pick is Frevola. I do think he takes a wrestling approach on a 2-fight skid. Like, we're not saying this could be his job, but maybe you are fighting for your job. I mean, the UFC is so deep nowadays. I think he comes in with the right game plan, avoids it, tries to get on the mat, wears him down, and fights a smart game plan. So I lean for Frevola, but yeah, minus 200 betting. Like, my favorite bet in this, Valdez plus 600 round one.
I love that round one call because we've seen Frevola go down early, and Valdez has been a finisher so far in his career. I do find it interesting, Keg, Valdez training with Moreno, as you mentioned. We kind of glossed over that quickly. Listen, I mean, Moreno's a beast, right? Good cardio. If Valdez is one of his key training partners, and you would think so, are they the same size? If not, it's got to be somewhat close.
Gomez Juarez is too in the same camp, so I don't know if that puts you. Yeah, there's a couple on this card.
Yeah, obviously not quite as much, being in the women's division, but when one of your camp members has got a big title fight coming up, and you're in the same camp on the same card, you're probably putting. Most of these fighters are putting in good work anyway, obviously coming up to their big fights. But I do kind of like going with, even in parlays, DFS. I think there's some correlation between fighters in the same camp, right? You all come out of a great camp, feeling great together. The confidence is high. Maybe one of you guys gets the finish early, and kind of the group rises up. So, Keg, I don't know if you put anything into that, but personally, I don't have the data to back it up, but anecdotally, it does seem like when one of these, especially when the champion fighter, if he's got a great fight, sometimes the undercard guys on the same fight card can rise up too. Keg, anything to that? And does that, impact your betting at all?
Well, I mean, listen, it's never bad news, and it's always a plus when Brandon Moreno is on your team.
Sure.
And both these guys probably sparred a lot, I would assume.
Yeah, a ton. Yeah.
Both fighting on the same card.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a negative, that's for sure. It can only be good.
Yeah, something that I think maybe goes overlooked by the general public, but just a little tidbit there. So that's Frevola, Valdez. Let's move on to another fight here. Should be an interesting one. Tony Gravely, a minus 250-ish favorite over Simon Oliveira. Gravely looks like primarily a wrestler to me, right? A lot of takedowns in his UFC history. I think he'll probably have a similar approach title against Oliveira. And when you get a wrestler like Gravely, who can do some good top control as well against a UFC newcomer like Oliveira, it seems overly obvious. But the first question is, in my opinion, can Oliveira defend the takedowns? Because if not, we see a lot of fights just kind of, they never even get going, right? If one fighter can get takedowns at will and control it from the top, we've seen it hundreds of times. It happens every card for, it seems like, a couple fights where it's not competitive. It's not the most exciting fight. And one fighter just kind of walks away with it. I personally could potentially see that happening with Gravely here. Again, minus 250 over Oliveira. So your opinion on this fight title, both from, a DFS betting perspective, Gravely 8,900. This is pretty expensive. Oliveira 7,300. You see a potential upset. And do you think Gravely maybe gets enough top control time here to perhaps get into the optimal? Because there's 2 wins in the UFC, almost 11 minutes of control time, 5 minutes of control time, pretty good significant strikes landed, 7 takedowns, 4 takedowns, and pretty good scores too. 138 DraftKings points in a second round win over Burchak. So he has proven that he can kind of put up some big numbers. Gravely can. Your interest in him here? And just thoughts on the fight in general. Title, go ahead.
Oh yeah, Gravely's always a fun DFS guy, and it's really a tough UFC debut to make a debut against someone like Tony Gravely. I mean, Gravely averages 5.57 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's nuts. I mean, that's tough, and we can't just say he's just a wrestler because the guy can strike. Like last fight, he put Nate Maness down at the end of the first round. The fight I shouldn't say should have been over because he came back in the second round.
That fight should have been over. It should.
Yeah, it's hard to say that because he gets knocked out the very next round, but the dude was concussed. His corner is carrying him back to the stool. I had a lot on Gravely. That really did hurt me. But I mean, Gravely can pop too on the feet. I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Gravely knocked out Oliveira. I really wouldn't. On the other, Oliveira. He's 30 years old. He's making his debut off another contender series fighter. But it's just a really tall task to beat Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely has slowed down in some fights. I think last fight, one of the main reasons he got knocked out in the second is he just went too hard in the first round and didn't pace himself enough.
You see that, right? Where fighters, they get so close to a finish and they gas themselves out. You can argue Gravely should have been stopped. It shouldn't have been stopped. Whatever you want to say. I mean, I'm with you guys. I think it should have been stopped. But I almost give Gravely like the pass on the second round knockout
because he had him.
When you're so close to finishing it and you go balls to the wall and you don't get the finish that you think you're going to get, not only do you lose like the physical, right, the physical stamina of trying to finish the fight, but the mental stamina of, oh, I've got this, I'm going to win, it's over, I'm going to get it, and then you don't, and then you got to go back to your corner, you come out, you're gassed, you get knocked out. Personally, I don't hold that again, like maybe you say, oh, Gravely didn't have the gassing, but to me, there's like an extenuating circumstance there, right, where you kind of say, listen, how much better would Gravely's record be if the referee had stopped the fight in the first round? Now you'd be looking at coming off a first round knockout. He's won 3 in a row, right? And he's still the same fighter, just it didn't go his way. Very, very close, right? Like the game benches. UFC is not usually game benches, but it was in that case for Gravely. So I think that's a good case for him. Maybe being a little bit undervalued here, Keg. Your thoughts, Gravely, Oliveira?
Yeah, I thought that you guys pretty much nailed the presentation. I mean, he's just a really, really solid wrestle boxer. He's got a great ground game. He hits really hard, and he can either knock you out in the pocket or he can grind you out on the mat for 15 minutes. Now, and why I think that this is such a good matchup for Gravely is because Oliveira is basically a classic Muay Thai fighter. He has a high guard, and he's coming at you from every angle on the feet. His striking defense needs improvement, but my concern for him is he throws so many leg kicks that all Gravely has to do once around is catch one of those leg kicks and trip him and take him to the mat and just grind him out. I think that's probably how I think it actually ends up going down. And I think that's why we see somebody like Tony Gravely, a minus 250 favorite. He's coming in heavy here because it's a good matchup for him. I think he gets it done, but you're going to have to be creative to back him, man, because the problem with this card is there are so many debuting fighters, and it's making for your normal UFC journeyman to be a really big favorite against these debuting fighters. And let's be honest, the Contender Series lately has not fared well in the UFC. The fade has been pretty good lately. If you would have faded last week, you would have went 2-0. So I don't know. I think you got to get creative here to get on Gravely. How you're going to do it, I'm not too sure. You could throw him in a parlay with somebody else you like if you really wanted to do that. Or Title, don't you think that this probably goes all 3 rounds?
I'm leaning Gravely inside the distance, actually. I think he just has so many paths and can grind them down. It's just a huge step up. So I'm leaning inside the distance.
Especially coming off, in my opinion, that tough loss. I think Gravely, going to have something to prove here.
Sure you don't think he just cleans him out, huh? You guys?
I just think eventually, like, the grinding might just it just might be too much for Oliveira. Like 15, yeah. I think there's level. I mean, we all know there's levels to this. I think Gravely is on another level. Like, I feel much more confident minus 250 Gravely than I would the minus 200 for Frevola and stuff like that.
I agree totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 3 for 3 on Gravely here. I feel pretty good about him. I think this line, honestly, is a little light. I think Gravely should be a bigger favorite. I think he's better. Could be better, frankly, in every area, but more importantly, better in the most important area for him. And I think he can control this fight with his wrestling if he wants to, and striking good enough to hold its own as well, at least in my opinion. So should be a good one there. Next fight, I believe two UFC newcomers here, Della Maddalena and Rodriguez, Pete Rodriguez. I love that DraftKings has their nicknames here under like we need that for NBA too. I need to see all the obscure nicknames that no one ever even calls these guys. Pete Rodriguez is apparently dead game. Okay, nice.
Yep.
But anyway, title Maddalena 9,200, Rodriguez 7K. So big difference in obviously the prices there. Maddalena the biggest favorite we've seen so far, coming in minus 350-ish. So yeah, I think you'll see Maddalena look be pretty popular in DFS. You typically see fighters that are this big of favorites come in fairly high owned. So yeah, your thoughts here on Jack Della and Pete Rodriguez.
Yeah, if you're making cocktails, watching football and stuff, make sure you're back by your TV for this fight because I'm very, very excited. Two UFC newcomers, Jack, Maddalena, I'm just going to say Jack. He's coming from the Contender Series, and he's someone that I'm actually very excited for in the UFC. This man can strike. This man is tough. His combinations are nasty. He mixes up to the body really well. He had in the first round, he had a really nice scramble. He pretty much got taken down, but they were scrambling for a little while. He ended up on top. I just think this guy is all around a complete package. I'm not saying he's going to win a title one day or anything like that, of course, but this guy's legit. So I like what I'm seeing. He's taking on Pete Rodriguez, and man, this is going to just be fun. Pete Rodriguez, he's 4-0, 4 knockouts, all in the first round. This dude's just coming out there. He's swinging. He's just out there to stand and bang. It's a bar fight for this guy. He's just going to try and knock you out as fast as he can. This fight gets out of the first round, though. We don't know what Pete Rodriguez is going to look like. This fight hits the mat. I'm not sure what Pete Rodriguez is going to look like. So I'm all over Jack. I just think he's better all around. I think he eventually probably gets a finish. It's minus 450 to end inside the distance, but there's really nobody, I guess, in the 7K range with as much upside as Pete Rodriguez because at the end of the day, like it's UFC, like small gloves, like you just need to get hit once and that's can be all she wrote. This guy seems to have a lot of power. Again, not fighting good competition. So many unknowns with this guy, but you do know he's going to come out. He's going to be swinging and he's going to be swinging hard. So yeah, I probably wouldn't bet minus 365, but I think he'll look at, if Jack wins, I think he's going to look like a minus 1,000 plus. Like, I think it's really going to be an easy victory, but there's always that one shot. And Pete Rodriguez seems like he can be that guy to do it. So I'm picking Jack. I'll have a lot of Jack in DFS, but it'll be really fun to watch. I think this fight, you're not going to need to see the judges. I'll just say that.
Yeah, which usually makes for a good DFS target, right? A fight that you think is going to finish inside the distance. Jack actually lost his first 2 pro MMA fights, both by stoppage, 10-0 since 9 of those. The previous next 9 fights he won inside the distance to get the decision in the Contender Series. And it looks like you said, Title, kind of a bright young prospect. Certainly the market thinks so, as he's a big favorite, minus 350 Keg. What do you see between these 2 fighters?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was just all pretty accurate. I thought Maddalena looked really impressive in his Contender Series fight. I thought he imposed his will. His striking game is really sound. His gas tank seems to hold up. And I think that he controls range really well for a prospect. Now, Pete Rodriguez, I mean, the dude's only fought 4 times professionally. And he got the call up to the UFC. 4 wins, 4 knockouts in the first round, I think. But they were all tomato cans. They were all straight cans. So I think Rodriguez has the definition of a puncher's chance here at about plus 250. Yeah. So you're basically weighing, is it worth taking the shot? Is he going to win? I don't think so. I think Jack Della Maddalena gets the win here. But you just can't back the guy at minus 350. It's impossible. So, I mean, that's the problem. I don't even know how you get on him here.
Got to be inside the distance.
I mean, Tyler, if you think you seem pretty confident this fight does finish inside the distance, and, you know, one thing that you said kind of stuck out to me, you think there's a pretty good chance when this fight is over that you're saying Maddalena should have been minus 1,000, just an easy fight, cakewalk.
That's still minus 175, boys.
I see minus 150, minus 155, 5 dimes, I think is best. It's still laying juice. I still think it's worthy of that personally, but I agree with you. It's not like plus money thing we're talking. So I hear you. I think it's happening though.
He's good, man. He should win the fight, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Title, I know you probably do this, obviously betting and DFS both. Sometimes, there's an edge, right? Like sometimes in DFS, if I'm confident in a player for NBA DFS, so I'm confident in a player in tournaments, but I know the field's going to be like 90% on the guy, I'll bet is over props, right? And then fade him in DFS.
Natural hedge.
Because if it doesn't work, right, I get a huge edge in DFS because he's taking down 90% of the field. You lose your prop bet, but you're still coming out positive because you have a chance now in DFS to get to the top of the tournament. And then if he does well, you take your prop bets, and maybe DFS isn't well, but you can win your money back basically from DFS from the prop. So that could be an approach that you take here. It seems like maybe Maddalena, maybe the approach is not to take that big number, but to just play him heavily in your DraftKings lineups, right? Maybe you pass on the minus 350 or the minus 175 to finish inside the distance, and you just play this guy on DraftKings. If he finishes early, like you say, at 9,200 title, he's probably going to end up on or near the optimal, right?
Yeah, that's a thing. Like Tony Gravely, like even a first round KO, like if Gravely just does his thing, like he could still beat him in a decision. Frevola with his you'll always take a first round finish, but I think we see some big boy scores from the upper tier today. I really do. But Jack's he's gonna be in a lot of lineups. Like the guy's a stud.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So that's Jack and Pete Rodriguez. We'll move on to the next card. The biggest favorite on the card is Ronnie Barcelos. He is minus 550, minus 500 to minus 600. Again, depends where you look, against Victor Henry. So big favorite here is Barcelos. He's an interesting fighter for sure. Keg, we'll go to you first on this one. Seems like you're kind of I don't know if hesitant is the right word, but you don't love laying these big chalks, right? These minus 500, minus 600. Is that your approach to this one? I think it probably is. And how are you approaching this one from a betting standpoint, if so?
Yeah, I don't. Like, I'll lay it. I'll lay the juice on fighters that are elite, but I can't do it on people like, I mean, the Contender Series transfers coming in here fighting these low-level journeymen. It's creating this problem where you have fighters like Ronnie Barcelos, who in your wildest dreams you would never lay $5 on. But like on the flip side, you take a look at Victor Henry and you're like, wow, Ronnie Barcelos should fuck this kid up. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's a ton of passing for me, man, on this card. I'll tell you.
Yeah. No, I mean, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, you know what you're doing, and sometimes you got to save your bullets and then live to fight another day. So no problem with that. Title, you have any strong stances on this one?
Nah, this one's pretty short. Like, I'm going to trust the line. And Barcelos is a stud in every which way. The guy can grapple. The guy can strike. The guy, he's coming off a loss. I thought it was 28-28. He dropped Timur in the second. I thought it was enough for a 10-8. But, I mean, Timur Value is a really good fighter. Henry's making his UFC debut. I think Barcelos is better in every single area. Not much more needs to be said.
I think that is fair. We'll move on to the main card. We go from the biggest favorite, widest spread on the card in Barcelos to what is basically at this point more or less a total pick'em between Michael Morales and Trevin Giles. Morales a slight favorite, depending where you look, but more or less coin flip between these two guys. Morales making his UFC debut here against Giles, who has fought a number of times in the UFC. Mostly decisions, mostly not the most exciting fights. Title. I mean, even in some 3-round decisions for this guy, you're looking sometimes at DFS scores in the 70s and the 80s. So, in my opinion, this could be a fight that I don't necessarily have a ton of action on. It is minus 190 to go over 2.5 rounds, so it is expected to go the distance. Giles Morales. Title, do you have a stronger take than me here on this one?
And this one is really tough. So it's plus 110 on DraftKings to finish inside the distance. So it's pretty much a coin flip. Like it's really tough. So if this fight goes to decision, you're not going to want on your DFS lineups. I think it mainly is standing. You don't want 3-round standing striking exchanges in DFS. If it goes to the decision, you want it to be on the mat, you want the control time, etc. So it's tough. Another Contender Series debut, Michael Morales. He's only 22 years old, but I think Jack's more put together and stuff. But some of these other guys, like Michael Morales being 22, he has all the skills. He's been training MMA pretty much his whole life. He has a judo background. The guy can wrestle. He's really long for the division. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage in this fight. So I get a little scared backing 22-year-olds against grown men, 30-year-olds. I don't know if that's because I'm young and I know what grown men, like you just got to grow up and develop your body.
You own Big T on the basketball court. You should have.
Well, that's different. That's different. But yeah, I mean, fighting. But yeah, so Morales is all that. So the line open -155, Morales 135, Giles. Giles has gotten steam ever since, and I do think it makes sense. Giles is 14-3. He has 11 wins. He's coming off a 2nd-round KO loss to Duplessis, but Duplessis is good. And Giles was he was ripping to the body. He had really good combinations against Duplessis. He got caught. He went to sleep. Duplessis is powerful, but Giles can box. His takedown defense is pretty good. Morales, I think, is going to try and get the fight to the ground at times. I'm not confident that he's going to be able to. I think Giles' takedown defense is good. When it stays standing, I think Morales throws good kicks. I think Giles has good boxing. I think the line's right. I do think it's pretty much a coin flip. Something to note, Giles is coming down from 185 to 170. He made weight. Something I like, but the gas tank sometimes has been a concern for Giles. So I'm a little concerned the longer this goes, if he does slow down. I'm going to hope there's a finish, though. I'm going to have some of both these guys. The mid-tier I do like a lot, but if you want to play a lot of mid-tier fights, I think this fight can finish on both sides. I'm going to say Giles, I think. I mean, it's such a coin flip. It really is. But I'm going to say Giles. I'm going to take the older guy, the more experienced. I like his boxing combinations. I think he can keep it on the feet more, but it's a really close fight. I'm going to get some on both sides in DFS. So I'm not – if it goes to decision, you don't want it. I think it actually does finish, so I do.
Yeah, I actually kind of looking forward to this fight. Morales.
It should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, Morales, he didn't look, I didn't think, that great in his Contender Series, but 22 years old and 12-0 on the professional MMA scene. This is a fighter that, could be improving really quickly, right?
And you like someone that's done it like their whole life and has background in judo and stuff. Like, you don't want someone that just picked it up 6 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So I like it. I like what I'm seeing. I'm excited for this fight. I'm with you.
Coming out of Ecuador too, you don't see that very often. So you got to assume that this has probably been his life. For the majority of his life. He's 22 years old and he's up and coming right now. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do out there. I lean the younger fighter here who has, in my opinion, more upside. I'll go down with that ship. We'll see what happens. Nothing crazy for me. Keg, your thoughts here on Morales and Giles?
Yeah, Giles drops down to 170 for the first time here, and I think it probably should benefit him because of his frame. I think he's got some nice wins under his belt dating back to his LFA days, but he's got decent boxing. He's got fast hands. He can wrestle. He's got a solid gas tank for the most part. And it seems a little crazy at first that Morales is a favorite in his first fight here. But Morales is a 3-time Ecuadorian freestyle wrestling champion. He's a national Muay Thai champion. He's got 5 inches of reach. So it's what?
I'm just saying he's got some impressive credentials and he's done a lot at 22 years old.
It's an interesting puzzle for Giles to have to figure out. But to be fair, Morales hasn't really fought top-level competition on the regional scene. So this is a big step up in talent for Morales here. The bookmakers, though, I respect the bookmakers setting that line at open of Morales minus 155. But I also respect the steam that sent it down to where he's minus 115. I'm going to say that I'll probably be on Morales in the future, but I'm going to lean Trevin Giles here to find a way. I'm with Title. It's a coin flip, but I'll lean Giles.
You guys are boring. I'm going with the younger, exciting fighter. We'll see what happens. I will say Giles dropping down a weight class. You know, looking at the weigh-in photos, these guys are the same size, right? Morales is a big dude too, so it's not like Giles is.
Morales has the reach advantage. If anything, he's the bigger one, but
right.
He's big for the division.
Sometimes you say, oh, you drop down the weight class, he's going to be big for the division. Like that's not. Sure. It's not going to be the case when you see these two step out there. It's not like Giles going to have a physical advantage, at least just in terms of size and reach and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to seeing what Morales can do, but we're split in terms of who we think wins the fight. We'll keep moving. 4 more fights to talk about. Getting to some more known fighters here. Next one, we'll talk about Cody Stamann versus Said Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov minus 200 here. He's got a few fights in the UFC, including 2 very quick KOs, including in his last fight. What was that? 2 first round KOs. He's got 3-1 in the UFC. Obviously, we know about the impressive family there. Cody Stamann, UFC journeyman. You've seen him fight before. Not typically someone you want to back in DFS title, even when he gets the win. So Stamann looks like frankly, even if you think he's going to win this one, which I don't, a fairly easy fade at 7,600 to me. Even if he wins, I don't think he gets in the optimal necessarily. Title, go to you first on this one. What do you see between these two?
Yeah, I'm actually a little different. I do have some interest in Cody Stamann. Okay. The reason like everything you said makes sense. You look at the game logs. So the guy's fought good competition. Cody Stamann's a wrestler. He's a wrestler at heart. He's gonna always be a wrestler. Whereas Said Nurmagomedov, he's not like training with Khabib, training with Islam. He has the last name. The lines are gonna favor Nurmagomedov, as they should. They're just animals. But he's a different kind of guy. Like, he's not gonna take you down, grapple fast you forever. He's more of a striker. He likes his spinning techniques. He's a good striker as well, but just want to point that out. It's a different kind. When you see the last name, my brain just goes to Khabib, of course, as I think most people's do. But Cody Stamann is a wrestler. He's a very good wrestler too. He fights good competition, which is part of the reason for his poor scores. And another good competition, another tough fight for him. But we don't love a lot of dogs on this card, so I have to pick some dogs. I think Stamann, we haven't seen Sayed's takedown defense really tested too much. 7 takedown attempts he's had in his UFC career. He's stuffed 5 of them. I believe Cody Stamann's the best wrestler he's going to face, though. Cody Stamann's no joke in the wrestling department. He's a very good wrestler. The question, can he keep him down? Can he hold him down? I don't know. I wish I did know that answer, but when I'm going to get plus 165 at 7,600 and there's some mid-tier fights, like maybe this is the lowest you go in your DFS lineups, I'm going to take a shot. I think he's one of the lowest owned fighters on the card. I think he can get some takedowns, some control time, which is something you like as a dog. I like a lot of people in the 8K range, the 9K range. You can't play everyone. So Nurmagomedov does fall down the list a little bit, coming off a first-round knockout, but he's mainly a decision fighter. So I'm going to trust Stamann's durability. He's always been durable. I'm going to trust him to try and make it a grimy fight and stuff. So I'm going to say dog or pass. I'm going to go with Stamann as the dog, 7,600. Not going to have like 40% Stamann because, there's a path he wins and doesn't get on the optimal. If Pete Rodriguez or Valdez or one of these guys down below win, they're probably going to score better. But if gun to my head, I would pick Stamann to get the win over someone like that. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it. I like Stamann. I think he can get the wrestling. I'm hoping he can get the wrestling. We'll see. It's a big test for Nurmagomedov and his takedown defense. We'll answer a lot of questions about him after this one, but I trust Stamann's durability. He's a good fighter. So dog for me.
Fair enough. Not to be the game log guy, but Stamann 8 straight fights hasn't gone over 84 fantasy points.
Got to look who he's fighting too, though. I mean, this guy.
I know, but
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, just my thoughts there. I get it. You don't.
I mean, he's also going to be one of the lowest owned fighters on the card. So if
he pulls the upset, if he pulls the upset at 7,600, he's going to be a good play. No question about it. Regardless, so I get that. I lean Nurmagomedov, but certainly respect your opinion there. Title, Keg, give us your thoughts here between these two.
Yeah, just a heads up. Tennessee Titans went to 4.
Wow. And it went right 3-4, or was it 3.5? I take it.
It was 3.5, but it hit 4.
I think
Wow.
it's clear right now. Henry is just going to be a full go. It seems like.
Yeah, no snap count.
We know what Cody Stamann is. He's a gatekeeper. He dropped the last couple of fights against Marab and I think Jimmy Rivera. I think he's a good wrestler and he's a decent striker. But his issue is if Cody Stamann can't manhandle you in the cage, he usually has a hard time winning the fight he's in. Now, Nurmagomedov comes in off a long layoff because he had visa issues, but obviously good to go now. I think that he's looked both good and bad at times in the cage, but overall really, really solid. But if he could stay on the feet, he has the advantage in striking it big time. So we'll know early in the fight how this one's going to go. If he stops the first couple takedowns, I think Cody Stamann's in for a long day. And I think he probably does stop the takedowns against the cage and probably circles back into the middle of the cage to regroup is my guess. So I'm going to lean Nurmagomedov minus 200's too pricey. I'm going to say by decision at plus 110 feels right to me. This probably goes the full 3 rounds.
I like it.
And I'm gonna lean Nurmagomedov.
Plus 120 on FanDuel too, so a little better on FanDuel than DraftKings.
There you go.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm on Nurmagomedov here too, but I could see it going either way. So yeah, that's that fight. Let's move to the next one. Another fighter making their UFC debut. That's Andre Fialho against veteran Michael Pereira. Pereira coming off a 3-fight winning streak. All 3, actually no, one of those is the 3 fights ago. He did finish in the 3rd round via submission, but last 2 fights winning by decision. Fialho looks like mostly a striker to me. Yeah, he's won 4 straight fights in lower promotions, all via TKO, KO in the first round or 2. His last 3 fights, all first round finishes. So he has been impressive recently on more of the regional scene. Pereira, you know kind of what to expect from him at this point. If you don't, kind of a little bit of a jack of all trades, master of none type of fighter. The market does expect that to be enough in this fight. Pereira, pretty big favorite, sitting around minus 260 to minus 300 right now. Keg, let's go to you first on this one. Do you see an angle here from the betting perspective that you like?
Yeah, I mean, man, Michel Pereira, man, Jesus Christ. He's got a ton of power. He's really explosive. But I feel like his fight IQ sometimes is god awful. Yeah. And he always goes so bonkers crazy that he gasses himself out in almost every 3rd round he's ever fought in. So now Fialho, I think he comes in from Sanford MMA, which is a great team. He's fought in the PFL before, but he's coming in on short notice. And nobody's really given him much of a chance here. But he has fought UFC level competition before. He has 14 knockouts and 17 wins. And I think in order for this kid to stand a chance, he has to be inside the kicking range of Pereira. He has to fight in the phone booth. So he takes away the leg kicks. Can he do it and deal with Pereira's power? I'm not sure. But I do know that he shouldn't be plus 230 or plus 240. I think he should be more like plus 165, plus 170. So I do think that there's a little bit of value on Fialho, even though he might not have the best chance to win. I'm still going to lean price-wise. I'll lean with the dog here.
Yeah, I don't mind that call. I don't mind Fialho taking a little, little taste of him in DFS.
One more thing, Draftcheat. If the fight script is what I just said, which is what every Michel Pereira fight script is, he goes nuts and he gasses out and has absolutely nothing left. It's always worth a little 3rd round sprinkle of fading Pereira. And Fialho's 18-1 in the 3rd round. And I think it's live because I mean, title, like, just think about some of the fights that he's been in. He's got nothing in that Nico Price fight. He had nothing left in the third round. And it's every third round. So I think that's worth a little sprinkle too. Sorry, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's a good call there. I think Fialho is going to show up in this one, and Pereira is one of those fighters where, like you mentioned, Keg, like the fight IQ is somewhat in question. So those types of fighters who clearly have talent, who are going to go balls to the walls from the jump, but perhaps fade lately. You're questioning their strategy, perhaps. I don't really like backing those people at minus 250 to minus 300, right? I'll take those types of fighters when they're plus 300, right? Because those fighters, they kind of embrace the variance of the sport. Pereira seems exactly that. I don't think Fialho is a stiff, right? I know he's coming in on short notice, but looking at the weigh-in, I mean, he looks like he's in shape, ready to go to me. So I think Fialho's got a chance to perhaps pull off this upset title. Your thoughts here between these two?
Yeah, I think everything you guys said makes some sense. I'm not as high on Fialho. I mean, so I'm not even convinced that like his gas tank's going to be there in the third either. Like we've seen him slow down a little bit too. He usually does get the KO. He has a lot of power, as we've seen. The volume's not necessarily there. The thing is, like, I just think Michel Pereira is better in every single asset of this fight. Like on the feet, I think Pereira throws with more power. He throws nasty leg kicks. I mean, the guy's 26-11. He's fought very good names. He's has a lot of fun in the octagon. Lately, he's toned it back a little bit. Like you said, his past 3 fights, his third fight ago, he got a KO, but his last 2 fights have been decision. Chaos Williams, it wasn't a fun fight. He was scared on the power coming back, but he fought a smart game plan. He got the win. Nico Price, 100% agree, but like it was all Nico Price in the third round. He was taking it over, but not even Nico Price could finish him in the third. So do I think Fialho coming in hasn't fought? I mean, he's fought some okay competition, knocked out James Vick. Obviously, we know the chin Vick is completely gone, but he's fought some okay guys. I just think it's a really tough UFC debut on short notice. I'm not convinced. I'm always go ahead, Keg.
No, I just said I agree. He's in a tough spot for sure.
Yeah, because even what if Pereira wants to just say, I'm going to take you down and dominate you on the mat, which we don't see for Pereira too much. But I think it's such an easy path unless like he has no gas tank when he does that. But I just think he can win this fight in so many ways. And I think the leg kicks, I don't know. I think Pereira, I wouldn't be surprised to see round 1 Pereira, but I hear what you guys say for sure. I mean, I'm not betting minus 300 Michel Pereira in the betting markets. Like, I don't think I'll ever do that.
It is interesting. It speaks to the lack of depth on this card that, this is
crazy. This is not a pay-per-view card that we're talking about. Right. It will be these next 2 fights, but not these first 9.
Right. Pay-per-view card with 2 title fights, including one of the best heavyweight, maybe not the most hype, but in terms of the skill,
it's got to be the best heavyweight fight of all time.
One of the best heavyweight fights ever in the UFC. And Fialho making his UFC debut, the 3rd fight on this card, on short notice. And he comes in and he's like plus 225, right, against a veteran. That's just
crazy.
Like on a normal card, right? I mean, you would see a guy making his UFC debut here on the 3rd fight of the pay-per-view. It'd be like plus 800 or something, something crazy like that you might expect. So it does speak to the lack of depth on the card, but that doesn't mean it's not some fun fights, some good money making opportunities.
I would say that there was like short sort of like Ilia Topuria was supposed to fight Charles Jourdain, and Charles Jourdain's a really good fighter. Like he just had and he was like plus 480 or something, which just shows like Vegas trusts they don't trust Michel Pereira. They think a fade on him makes a lot more sense than a Charles Jourdain, a complete stud who who he is. And he was plus 460, which shows how good Ilya is. But like the Vegas thinks a couple of these underdogs are going to pull it off, or at least one of them, which is interesting because there's a lot of faces we haven't seen.
Yeah, I think Fialho's got a chance here. We'll see how this fight ends up going. Let's get to the 2 great fights on this card. Trilogy fight, 3rd fight in a row between Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo. Moreno coming off a pretty impressive win last time. They're going to run it back a 3rd time here. Moreno, decent favorite, minus 180 or so. We'll go in depth on this one. Title. Looked like Figueiredo maybe had a different approach to his training camp here. Looks like he perhaps dropped he's historically been a guy who struggled with the weight cut, right? Very big for the division, big, powerful, fast. But he jogged to the to the scale, weighed in at 124, right? So a little bit below what you're allowed to weigh in at. So maybe a little bit of a different Figueiredo here with perhaps a better gas tank. Obviously, you don't know from any of that stuff, or from the weigh-in photo, or from the actual weight on the scale. But to me, kind of a promising sign for Figueiredo for this one. Should be a great fight here. Listen, I could see this one going any direction. I'm a big Figueiredo fan. I'll probably back him, honestly, here as a dog. I'll probably go in that direction, frankly, title in DFS as well. I'm kind of a little bit of a sucker for Figueiredo, just a big fan of his skill set. Moreno, obviously, fantastic too. But yeah, interested to hear, Title, your thoughts on these two, obviously competing for the belt here, third fight in a row, and should be an interesting one. So go ahead, Title, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, these two fights are phenomenal. I wish I had a stronger lean on both of them. I'll be honest, like I always am right away. I really do. I wish it was like a Charles Oliveira fight. There's certain fights, you have a stronger grasp on it. This fight, man, the trilogy. The first fight between Moreno and Figueiredo is a draw. Figgy got a point off for the nut kicks or for the low blows. So Figueiredo, I say fight one. Draw, but I say Figgy won, fight one. Sure. Fight two comes out. Figgy looked bad on the scales the day before. He looks strained, but it's still, there's 24 hours to get fine. Like, he just didn't look great, though. He came out and he threw, like, no volume the whole fight. It was not a Figueiredo performance. Moreno was taking the center of the cage. He was doing whatever he wanted to do, and it was just one-way traffic.
I don't think Figueiredo's gonna. I don't think we're gonna see the same Figueiredo.
Yeah,
that's what I'm.
And then after that fight, Figgy did what he had to do. He switched camps. He went to fight ready in Arizona, which is a big thing. Like getting out of your comfort zone, realizing that you got to make improvements. He's training with Henry Cejudo. Guess there's some beef with Cejudo and Moreno. So like he made all the right things, and you could tell at the scale. I mean, what he got the weight cut figured out, and it only gets harder at an older age. So everything he's doing, it seems like, is right. The line, this is kind of where we're talking Keg earlier in the thing, like you think this guy could win, but you think the value side is the other side. Like I think on the betting side, Figgy has to be the value at plus 155. I mean, he's lost to Moreno once recently, but he should have won fight one. He looks as good as he's ever looked. Plus win 155 for one of the most dominant fighters the sport's ever seen. Like, I totally makes sense. I'm a Brandon Moreno guy. I just think I'm a sucker for him. You're a sucker for Figgy. I think everything about Brandon Moreno is awesome. The one thing that I think why Brandon Moreno matches up so well with Figgy is his durability is just next level. Whereas Figgy, how he gets people out, his power is next level. He hasn't knocked Brandon Moreno down once. They've shared the octagon for over 30 minutes. He hasn't knocked him down once. The guillotine is also Figueiredo's big weapon. Brandon Moreno's a stud in the grappling and stuff. So I just am not sure. I mean, of course, Figgy can put away Moreno. I don't think that's the likely outcome. I love the improvements I'm seeing from Moreno. My pick's going to be Moreno. I think the value is Figgy in the betting markets. DFS, it's a fight you probably want to go both sides on. If you're making 20 entry max, my recommendation, you have 100% of this fight. Of course, there's past that this fight's not on the optimal. I'm not going to win today if that's the case. Play both sides if you want. I'm going to have more.
Not in the same lineup, though.
No,
right?
Correct. If you have 20 lineups, just say you go 13 Moreno, 7 Figueiredo.
Or whichever side you lean, right?
Correct.
I'll have more Figueiredo, but yeah. Yep.
100%. And if you have a strong lean on either of these two title fights, hit the lock button. But I'm going to take the approach. I'll be overweight, so I'll just be 100%. I'm going to lean Moreno, but I mean, fading one side of either of these fights these are two really, really good, close title fights. And Figgy looks as good as ever, but my pick's going to be Moreno.
What's funny, Todd, it sounds like you'll have a decent exposure to both these guys.
Oh, I'll be overweight both.
And so what's funny with that is like going into the card right before it starts, you don't know which of these guys you'll be cheering for, but by the time the fight comes around, you'll have a strong lean, right? Because whichever teams are doing the best.
That was like last week, Giga and Cater. I mean, I was over Giga, but like my best teams had Cater. And I like finished fourth. I thought I had a chance to ship in the big one, but my best in 150 needed Cater. So like that's the great thing about 150. I have no clue who I'll be cheering for in these last 2 fights, but
Well,
it's going to be someone.
By the time you get to the fight, you will. Do you ever
Exactly.
you ever hedge out, bet the other side when you're unsure?
Yeah, so it's hard to get it down in Texas. I know people you can get big bet because when you do like if it's like 50,000 or something like that, that's when like a certain number when I'm thinking about it. I did him against Rob Font when it was out at like 25K to first. I decided to let it ride on Font when I would have got it. It's all about how much money and how confident I am in each side. So yeah, today if I can win 75K on Francis, I'm gonna bet Cyril Gane or vice versa.
Yeah,
but it all depends on the number and
obviously
how I like
the
fight.
later into a card, the more sure you are that you're
I only would hedge the last fight, and like that's if I know I'll be optimal. Because like, what if it's a 78-point decision win and I needed 95? Then I lose and lose. If there's a lose possibility, I won't do it. I need to make sure that I will win and get all the money if this guy gets it. If that makes sense.
There's many factors, right? Obviously,
for sure.
Part of it's you're not going to take what you think is a highly negative EV bet. You just let it ride at that point.
But that is why MMA is, in my opinion, one of the best sports for DFS, because like in NBA and all that stuff, NFL, like you can't, you don't have the opportunity to look at where you are in the field and know this. MMA, you do, since there's time in between each fight. So something that if you live in illegal sports betting, if you play MMA, like religiously, like it's what you do, like bet hedging and betting markets, like they tie, you can book a lot of profit by doing like what we're talking about.
And you don't have to go for the entire hedge, right? Like
no.
But you can lock in profits or lock in.
You can lock in break even. Like I think this guy's gonna win. I'm gonna make sure I don't lose money.
Get a couple grand down,
for sure.
Yep. Yeah, perfect. So let's bring in Keg here, patiently waiting to give his opinion on Moreno Figueiredo. Break the tie for us, Keg, because we got one on each so far.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think that both you guys are right. I just think it's impossible to justify a $1.90 line move on Moreno.
That's what I think, man. This the coin flip
fight, right to the third fight. I gave it out for Run Pure subscribers. We were on Moreno plus 210 in the rematch because I thought both guys should have been a coin flip. I thought they both should have been minus 110, and he got it done. And I do think that Brandon Moreno is that one guy that can fight Figueiredo in that division that has the two things that you need to beat him. And that is you need a granite, non-human chin that doesn't crack, which Brandon Moreno has. Yes. And two, I think you have to be more technically sound on the feet to exploit those bombs,
which he is, right? I mean,
right. So, and Moreno showed that he's more technical. He showed it in that second fight. Now the issue is there just isn't any value on betting Moreno at this price. So while I lean with title that I think Moreno probably wins the fight, the one thing though that you guys brought up that I didn't think about, but you do have to take consideration in. Like, I think in that second fight that he had food poisoning the night before. He spent the night in the hospital, went directly from the hospital to the arena and fought. So, maybe he's clearly in the zone and focused. And, like, he wants this bad. You can tell. Like, he's ready to go. So I think it's even if I think Moreno, I would lean his way. It's a dog or pass spot for me, 100%. And I'll tell you what, man, if the line keeps going up, I might throw some money on Figueiredo. I might, even though I lean Moreno to win the fight, because it gets to a point where, I mean, what's he going to be, plus 170? When was just plus 210 in the last.
It already is. I just saw 5 dimes. Yeah, Moreno plus 170 on 5 dimes right now. Actually,
I also lean over 3.5 rounds. I think that this probably goes deep.
I think I'm with you on that. I mean, I think it's the right figgy, and I'm with you on that. I think this fight is just a complete war. Probably maybe 5 rounds or late too. So that is my lean as well.
Yeah, to me, this line would be correct if Figueiredo had stayed in the same camp, right? To me, the camp move, that pound on the scale, not that the pound itself is a big difference.
It's how he looked. His attitude.
How he looks. He's clearly, like, I don't think he's going to lose his power, right? It's more about, can he maintain the power deeper into the fight? I think he will be able to better do that here. Again, I think the camp switch is a big deal for Figueiredo. Like you said, Tyler, getting out of his comfort zone, maybe learning some new skills. I think we're going to see a much different fighter than we saw in the last fight, and that's enough for me to
I hope so, because otherwise it's going to be a short night again if we don't. But it should be a really good fight.
Yeah. So give me some Figueiredo, but it should be a good one. Really looking forward to watching that one. Let's get to the main event, heavyweight title fight between Ciryl Gane and Francis Ngannou. Cyril's been, kind of flawless, right? Looks like the complete package at heavyweight, which you can't normally say very often. A lot of times the heavyweights are kind of, they can be a little bit, not well-rounded, kind of one-sided striker or grappler. Certainly Ngannou showed some good wrestling against Stipe. Obviously the power is there for Ngannou, just incredible power, probably the most power ever in the UFC, or close to it anyway. But yeah, Ciryl Gane is the favorite here. Kind of crazy to me, minus 140 to minus 150. You get it. I mean, he's looked so good. But, Keg, we'll start with you on this one. I still think Ngannou's got a pretty damn good power advantage. And when you're talking heavyweight fight, that means a lot. Ciryl Gane, as good as he's looked, he's not overly threatening, right? I don't think he's going to start Ngannou right off the get-go here. I think Ngannou's going to have a chance to land some punches, and we know what happens when he does. So I don't know how this one's going to go. I have a hard time not taking Ngannou as a dog, frankly, just because he's so good, so powerful. But I do kind of think the sharp money is on Ciryl Gane here, most likely. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, you're sharp money. Where's your money on this one?
Yeah, listen, this fight, man, this is what I keep coming back to. It's so hard to be locked in a cage with Ngannou for 5 minutes and not get knocked out. Like, that's really hard to do. To me, it comes down to the line. Like, the fact that I was able to get Francis Ngannou at plus 135 a few days ago, I took him. If Ciryl Gane would have been plus 135 2 days ago, I would have took him, because I think Ngannou is an overwhelming favorite for the first 10 minutes of this fight. I think once round 3 starts, Gane starts to become an overwhelming favorite to win the fight, because we already know Ngannou does not throw the necessary volume to win a decision. And we know that Gane throws more volume than probably any heavyweight on the roster. So if it goes the full 5, unless Francis Ngannou pulls a rabbit and like all of a sudden just goes for takedowns every round and like tries to grind him out, unless that happens, Ngannou's going to lose a decision if it goes all 5 rounds. But those first 10 minutes, I think Ciryl Gane could. I just don't know how he's going to avoid him, because if you look at his striking defense, he'll back up to the cage, and once he gets to the cage, his striking defense gets slightly lax, and he raises his chin back and up in the air. And I mean, like, Francis Ngannou, if you do that tonight, he's going to knock you dead, and you're going to wake up like a minute later. So I let the line dictate. Plus 130, I took Ngannou. I probably would have taken Gane at the same price, because I think it's really close. I lean towards Ngannou finds a way, because like there's just certain things, bro. If he hits him in the head, he's going to go down. He's got the hardest punch ever recorded in human history.
it's an off switch in the brain. It is impossible to stay conscious. And I don't know if Cyril Gane can avoid that for 12 minutes or 10 minutes. I don't know. Lately, my gut says he can't. But man, if the bell rings for round 3 and you're holding an Ngannou ticket in your pocket, you should be worried.
Yeah, I kind of like, just from an approach, betting Ngannou to win in the first round. I mean, look what he's done. I mean, sometimes you don't need to overcomplicate it. 5 straight wins, 4 of those in the first round. Last win over the heavyweight champion Stipe in the second round. Yeah, like you said, just incredible power from Ngannou. And Cyril, I mean, maybe having a different opinion title. Have we seen Gane's chin really tested?
Volkov fight was the closest we've seen.
Yeah. I just don't think Gane
you can't compare France's power to anybody. Derek Lewis, just different levels. So we haven't seen. Yeah.
And Gane doesn't have that much power, right? I mean, I think that's kind of fair to say. So to me, Ngannou, I think he's going to land at some point in these first 10 minutes in the first round. I don't think he's going to be that afraid of Cyril Gane. And man,
I totally agree with that too. I totally agree with you. This is not going to be the Rosenstruck fight.
I don't think so either.
Rosenstruck followed him around for 25 minutes and didn't really get involved. Ngannou is going to get in there, take his time, and try to take his head off. 100%.
I think eventually he'll land one. He's probably going to be losing this fight until he isn't, and then he's going to have his hand raised. That's how I think it's going to go down. That's how I'm betting it. I'm taking the dog in Ngannou. Maybe Cyril Gane is that kind of next level title where he's just kind of flawless, right? He doesn't have any holes in his game, but everyone has a hole in their game when they get hit in the face by Ngannou so far. And I don't think
the buyback is starting too, and Ngannou's down to plus 110 at
I got him at 125. So yeah, I'm hoping he can pull it out. Title, give us your thoughts here, Gane and Ngannou.
Yeah, so this is a really, really good fight. So I got a ticket on Gane months ago. When this line came out, I've never bet against Gane. I saw you open as an underdog. I said this was wrong. There's the skill, there's levels to everything. The skill level, Gane is, I don't think anyone's arguing, Gane is a better fighter than Francis in pretty much almost every area. But the one area, especially in heavyweights, and it
matters by far the most.
Exactly, as Keg said, and I've always straight up and up front. The last heavyweight fight, Chris Daukaus against Derek Lewis, I lost a big chunk of money on Chris Daukaus. I thought just the skills, the same thing. I thought the skills were all Daukaus. But what is the one thing Derek Lewis has? Power. Once he connected once, it doesn't matter how good you are, anything. Your brain shuts off. The human body can't take that. If Cyril Gane's heads back in the striking exchange and Francis clips them, it's all she wrote. You'd be dumb to bet big on this fight, I think. I don't necessarily agree that Cyril Gane doesn't have power. Someone in Discord said Cyril Gane can't hurt Francis. I totally disagree on that. I think Cyril Gane's that dude. I really do. I've never bet against him, but the second he stepped in here, he just looks different. He moves like a lightweight, he moves like a middleweight. He just light heavyweight. The dude's just different every way. It's going to be a hell of a fight. I'm totally with you. Like I said, if I have a big opportunity to cash out or to hedge, I'm going to probably do it because it'd be so scary to watch this fight without the Derek Lewis-Daukaus fight. Definitely pushed me back a little bit on the Francis side because it just showed you land once, it's over. We were watching that Stipe Ngannou fight. I was over Ngannou, but I was like, man, I don't know when I'm going to bet against this guy. He's just a freak talent that he's just a freak. You don't see guys like this in the world. Now you're locked in an octagon with them. The bigger cage is definitely a huge advantage for me. If this was at the Apex, man, maybe I would be Francis. I think this line would be too wide. I still do. Kind of like last fight, my pick's gone. But I don't think Francis should be a plus 130 dog. Now it's plus 120 or whatever. I don't think he should be that against anybody.
Don't you think it's monumentally disrespectful that somebody as dominant as him actually comes out as the dog? Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I think Gane is like the new hybrid heavyweight 2.0. We're going to see a ton of people come along like him, but it's absolutely absurd, I think, that Gane is not the betting favorite.
I think that speaks like I obviously I'm 24 years old. I'm young. There's like, I don't want to just say a state like, how is this not the best heavyweight?
How many times you got to brag how young you are on this?
Sorry. How is this not the best heavyweight fight of all time?
I'm 41. I'm old, bro.
All right, Keg. So, Keg, answer this question. How is this not the best heavyweight fight of all time? Because that's what I was saying. Like, I haven't watched. Like, you have the.
How could it not be?
Yeah. So, like, that's why Francis being a dog. I think that just shows like you have the scariest dude to ever walk this planet against a heavyweight that has all the skills in the world. I mean, we're in for a treat. But I think that's the answer.
What do the two you think about the total? How could you ever bet over?
I'm not betting any total in this fight.
Imagine having the nuts to bet the over 2.5 in this fight.
That sounds just like an absolutely miserable 12.5 minutes to me.
I regret when I've had 5 figures on that the Dawkins Lewis fight. The whole right as it started, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, it was the worst time of my life. It was better after when I lost than watching. And I'm like, I'm never betting on a heavyweight fight like this again unless I'm hedging. Like, screw that.
Sometimes you gotta go through that experience of sweating.
Oh, I did. I learned my lesson the hard way.
Yeah, we all learn our lessons in the DFS gambling betting streets. So
the one bet that I saw that I liked on FanDuel Draftcheat was Ngannou wins in round 1 or 2. It was plus 220. I saw it 2 days ago. I don't think that's bad at plus 220.
I will say too, being on the Gane side, I know you guys both France on the Gane side. I don't think it's a decision. I do think he finishes it made 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. It's a decision. Of course, can be likely. Francis Durb, all that. If you think Cyril Gane is what he is, like you think he's gonna finish. So that's how I'm approaching it.
Yeah. I think potential live betting opportunities on this fight, depending on how they look in the first couple rounds. Keg, are you going to be live during this event during the football games today?
I am, my friend. I will be live from about 20 after 4. We'll be live for both playoff games and then through till the main event.
Okay, so that's awesome. So if you want Keg's live betting show, which you should, very profitable and fun way to sweat the sports. Great day to do it. Great day to sign up for that. Keg, why don't you tell the people how they can get your live betting premium show?
Yeah, if you guys go to runpuresports.com and you go to the website, the pricing where you pick up the DFS package or the betting package, that's where you pick up the live show package. It's all the way on the right-hand side. It's $10 a week, $40 a month. And we have like 20 to 25 hours of live sweat betting content every single week. And we place bets, we have fun, we make money. And NASCAR's around the corner. And I know you guys know Coop. Coop and I made about 135 units in NASCAR on the Sunday show last year, which we did for free all year. NASCAR starts in like 3.5 weeks, man. So, it's a good time to get involved for sure.
Yeah, not a NASCAR guy myself, but that's a lot of units. So I'll be tailing Keg and Coop in the NASCAR streets. I'll be rolling with you guys. So check out that live betting show if that's something you're interested in. Great stuff there from Keg. And that'll do it. That's 90 minutes on UFC 270. Going to be an awesome card. Obviously, the 2 football games coming up too. Fun day of sports. We'll be back next pay-per-view UFC event, me, Title, and Keg. Thanks for tuning in. As always, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Title's putting up his Aaron Rodgers jersey.
Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go. Going to be a real fun day of sports. So looking forward to it. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching. For Keg, for Title, I'm DC. We'll check you next time.